o 2026. Just wedi bod yn sôn am llwyddiannau Powys o ran cael y Tour de France mynd trwyddo, felly yn swyddogol llongyfarchiadau enfawr i chi fel sir. Mi fydd yn rhoi bendant Powys, ond Canolbarth Cymru ar y map, felly da iawn chi am gael hynny. Ymddeiriadau, cynghorydd James Gibson Watt wedi ymddeirio, Emma Palmer fi'n credu yn rhedeg yn hwyr, Duncan Hall gyda ni yn ymddeirio, fyd mi fydd Justin Davies yn cyflwyno o ran Duncan. Matthew Vokes, cynghorydd Matthew Vokes yn ymddeirio, Alan Morris, Dan Burgess, Eli Prysor a mae Gareth Ashman o'r Llywodraeth ddim yn bersonol hefyd. Jonathan Evans a Russell Hughes Pickering yn ymddeirio hefyd, felly os oes na rhywun arall, plis rowch yn chat fel bod Amy gallu gwneud cofnod ohono fe. Eitem 2 wedi datgelu buddiannau, os na buddiant personol neu un sy'n rhagfarnu gyda aelodau. Fel chi'n gwybod y drefen, os oes na rhywbeth yn codi yn ystod trafodaethau, tynwch yn sylwi ato fe beth bynnag. Felly ymlaen i eitem 3 wedyn ni, cofnodion drafft cyfarfod dwethau gyda ni o hwnnw ar yr 15 o'r Rhagfyr. Felly Jake oedd yn y gadair bryd hynny, felly allai cael wedi cynnig cywirdeb gynta ar y cofnodion. Fi'n hapus y gynnig gadair a Jake, chi'n eilio, felly diolch yn iawn chi.
Yeah, happy to do that, thank you.
Yeah. Pawb yn hapus gyda na aelodau? Ie, rhai o'n chi oedd na, beth bynnag, diolch yn iawn. Os na unrhyw beth yn codi o'r cofnodion neu oedd yna actions yn codi, Carwyn neu Amy?
Na, dim felly. Dwi'n credu bod yr camau gweithredu a beth drafodwyd rownd cynllunio busnes i gyd yn dod lan ar yr agenda heddiw, Cadeirydd.
Oce, diolch yn iawn. Felly, ni syth mlaen ni at eitem 4, sef partneriaeth sgiliau rhynbarthol a 2 preis gyda ni bore yma ti 2. Allai jyst diolch i ti 2 am dy bresenoldeb yn y diwrnod agored gaethon ni ar fferm Llety Twpa yn Llambed gyda'r myfyrwyr. Oedd hi'n neis gweld ti na, a fi'n credu oedd hi'n neis gweld y bwrlwm gyda'r pobl ifanc. Felly, diolch yn fawr yn bersonol i ti beth yna.
Thanks, Brian. And just to reiterate that point, it was a really successful event we attended, and I spoke to a lot of the students who attended on the day and others, and everybody was very positive about what's going on there. So just to congratulate you on the work you're doing there. Okay, so Regional Skills Partnership report update. So we're taking on the progress and against the objectives. So Career Connections, which is the project that we started in the school. So through the process, we've taken talking to the number of businesses that are on our sector groups. One of the big things they wanted from the Regional Skills Partnership was about more engagement with schools and going into schools and talking to pupils about their sectors. So we've arranged a programme of work where to start with construction, manufacturing, engineering businesses are going into 2 schools in Ceredigion and 3 in Powys to talk to young people in year 8 and year 9 about their options and about the sectors that the industries they work in. The first one has gone ahead in December, and we had 4 businesses attend. 2, it was a school in Powys. There was 2 construction companies in Powys and 2 engineering companies. They went in and performed some activities with 99 pupils on a carousel. So there was sort of 25 in each group. So that was really successful. So they worked with 99 pupils, talked about the sectors, had some really positive feedback from the young people, where a lot of them are now thinking about the careers in construction, which they weren't thinking about previously, and in engineering. So so that started. We've got the next event, which is another school in Powys at the end of this month, and then we've got 2 in February in Ceredigion. So that started well, and it's been real positive from our cluster group members, businesses in the region. So we'll keep you updated on that. There was a request last time when we talked about this around getting some films done around the activity that's going on in the schools and some photos and various things. So we've arranged for that now. So there's going to be some films made of future visits. So hopefully won't be the next meeting, but probably the meeting after, we'll be able to show you some of those films. Careers information films and podcasts for education professionals. So really pleased to say that the first podcast has been complete with Business Wales. It's come some of our cluster chairs, Doug Hughes, Kerry Stevens, and Emma, our RSP chair, sat on the first couple and were interviewed. They've now been released on the Grow Mid Wales website. Really positive reaction to them. They're very informative. So if you've got some time, I put the links in the report. If you've got some time, please take some time to have a listen to them. And we'll look to publish more of these and build a sort of library for a resource for education professionals and others. Careers in 360. So that's been launched. We reported that was launched in November. We've had some recent stats on this. So December, it received over 3,000 individual users who've actually accessed the website, 3,000 individuals. Just over 500 are from Mid Wales. So that's really successful already. The 500 young people are looking at the careers website and the opportunities that are there. Also as well, the site in December is averaging about 280,000 hits. So that means those young people are going back to the site. They're using the resource over and over again. So early indications is that it's been really positive, and that the site is being used. So moving forward, the next part of the site development is the Mid Wales directory, where businesses in Mid Wales can go onto the site and have a presence. I think this will pique the interest of a lot of Mid Wales businesses if they're having potentially having this much visibility from young people. So it's really working well with what we set out to achieve. On the paper as well is the link to the is a QR code which will take you into the Careers in the 360 platform. So if you want to have a play around with it and have a look yourselves, please feel free, and we welcome any feedback on it. Moving on to skills provision. So this is the bigger piece of work we're doing. So what I'll do in this part is wrap up the sort of energy conversation as well in it. So what we're aiming to do with this piece of work is about mapping what the opportunities are for our big strategic project going forward. So around skills and recruitment. So we're working with the growth deal team to look at what the employment opportunities are and trying to model that. Doing the same with big economic projects in both of the counties outside the growth deal. Local area energy plans, we're doing modelling around that as well. So we've done quite a bit of modelling around that already. So we've got numbers of jobs, that the opportunity of jobs, how many jobs are going to be required in the region to meet the net zero commitment, and the types of jobs as well. So we're starting to see the actual types of roles and putting numbers against them. Doing the same thing now as well with the large energy infrastructure projects. So, for example, wind farms. So we've spoken to some of the 3 of the big distributors about their ideas and about their proposals. So we've managed to map some numbers against those proposals now. So we know roughly how many construction jobs during the construction phase could be created. We've got a ballpark figure of the types of jobs as well to run the operational side of the sites. So the next step for us in that process now is to take those numbers and that modelling and go back to the distribution network operators just to sanity check those numbers. And then the next step in that process will be to work with our Mid Wales supply chain to see what their capacity is, so we can start to see what the gap is. So how many more extra roles are we going to be required? How many more skilled roles are going to be required? So we can start talking to colleges and others about improving the capacity in the region to meet those commitments. So that's a big piece of work we've got ongoing at the moment. That'll feed into a lot of the work we're doing around looking at what types of skills and qualifications need to be delivered in sites such as Lampeter, the proposed Lampeter site, and also as well Cymru Tech in Newtown. Councillor Berman?
Yeah, sorry to jump in on that,
yeah.
Di. Is it just the DNOs that you're talking to, or have you been talking to some of the wind farm proponents themselves? Because we hear a lot of of talk from them about all of the offers that they will make around apprenticeships and skills, etc. And you know, I hear that as a leader, and I'm thinking, well, how are we following that through the institutions that we have, and is it just talk, or are they delivering?
So right, okay. So I would say it's early days on that. So at the moment, until they have approvals of sites, they're not willing to sort of put pen to paper and give confirmation of things. But we, as our role, we will be pushing for that and following that through and speaking to them on a regular basis to try and nail that down as best we can.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, diolch yn fawr Pat, Jake. Just to add to that as well, Di, you know, the conversations I've been having with the likes of Greengen and Butte as well, I think, you know, they are talking about money as well. Obviously, you've got the community benefit, but, you know, funds for training. So, you know, not more than bums on seats. They are talking about financial packages. So it'll be in their interest to share those figures with you anyway, before it goes to the planning stage.
So I have got some figures on that. So there's 5 of the applications actually state the community benefit financial proposal in it. So I've got some of that. So I'm going to try and fill the gaps with the others as well. So that'll be further conversation. And I think that'll be something that I need to speak with our economic development leads in both counties on about where that goes, because that I think that needs to be led by them.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Benefit.
Fi'n cymryd gan y tal bod papur heb orffen to, ond gan bod ni ar y pwncyn o ran falle egni, falle Catrin, dyna ti mewn hefyd, please.
Ie, na, o'n i jyst tegu be wedodd y cynghorydd Berryman, really. A dwi'n meddwl bod eisiau gwasgu arnyn nhw. Os y'n nhw'n gallu dweud bod nhw yn mynd i gynnig prentisiaethau, mae rhaid bod gyda nhw gynllun, ac os nag oes cynllun, mae eisiau gwasgu arnyn nhw i fod cynllun gyda nhw. Dydy gweud o, dyn nhw'n siŵr pa safleoedd y bethau, dwi'n ddim yn ddigon da. Maen nhw'n gwasgu i gael nifer fawr o ffermydd yng Ngheredigion, dros 100 o derbeiniau sy'n nhw'n cael hawl i bob peth. Felly mae hwnna'n lot o brentisiaethau. Ac, chymod, maen nhw'n gallu penderfynu ar y nifer o brentisiaethau yn ôl y terbeiniau, yn dydyn. Mae rhaid bod nhw rhyw fath o raddfeidd. A dwi'n meddwl bod rili angen gwasgu arnyn nhw i gael y wybodaeth yna, achos maen nhw'n defnyddio fe fel rheswm, fel un o'r byddion o'i cael nhw mewn i'r un siroedd ni.
Na, beth na, diolch o ti, Catrin. Oedd e ar Radio Cymru bore yma wedi gweithio yn dilyn y datganiad ddo nechto am Mlaenau Gwynt mas ar y môr. Prentisiaethau, cwrs 5 mlynedd cyn bod yr elfen profiad yn dod mewn iddo fe hefyd. Felly, ti'n dech ar 7 neu 8 mlynedd er mwyn cael falle yr gweithwyr trwyddo i gwireddu'r hyn maen nhw'n trwy gweud. Felly, mae'r peth yn digwydd nawr. Diolch o ti, Catrin. I think that message is quite clear anyway, Di. So, you know, they need to be proactive with their approach towards you as well anyway. So,
yeah. No, thank you. Yes, and then touching on the offshore wind. So I do attend the Celtic Sea port sort of updates. And there's going to be a lot of opportunity there as well. And some of that is travel to work opportunities for people who live in Mid Wales. So we'll be sort of modelling some of that in as well. So so in future months, it won't be next month, but we'll hopefully be in a position to be able to provide a report to this board around what those numbers could look like and what those organisations are actually saying. So yeah, so we'll keep, it'll be a priority for us to keep on following through. Just the final part of the paper as well is around digital strategy. So we've just had a draft digital strategy completed, which has been really interesting. We will do a report back to board on the outcomes of that digital strategy, but some of the things that are being raised, because a lot of interviews happened with the local businesses and surveys around their digital needs. There's some sort of technical aspects that they seem to think are missing in Mid Wales. But the main thing they raised was around quality of accessibility of provision. So there's definitely a gap there around the digital expertise and the skills and qualifications that are available in the region to meet business needs. So we'll be following up on that as well.
Gret, diolch o'r Di. Yr unig beth ychwanegol byddwn ni gweud, o ran y gwaith chi'n neud, o ran mi ro'n i siarad gyda cyflogwyr a bethau, falle bydde o ran fi'n bersonol, a sa'n siŵr o ran Jake hefyd, bydde'n neis gael gwybod pa gwmnïau chi'n siarad gyda yn Ceredigion a Powys, achos chod, cyflogwr mowr sydd gyda ni yn Ceredigion er enghraifft yw Mudiad yr Urdd. Falle bod chi ddim yn meddwl o ran y sgiliau sydd yn angenrheidiol ar gyfer yr Urdd, ond mae yna gyfleoedd da iawn i'n pobl ifanc ni. Felly, jyst bod ni'n cael rhyw fath o flas, felly, pwy chi wedi ymgysylltu gyda, falle bod chi'n gallu rhannu, falle, adroddiad gyda ni o ran pa gwmnïau, a falle bod cwmnïau sydd ddim yn bolon cysylltu gyda chi, felly byddai'n neud sy'n bod ni'n gallu gwneud yn roles fel arweignyddion, falle, i gwthio nhw i ymgysylltu gyda chi. Sa'n beth yw'r teimladau chi am nadau?
No, that's great, because the more engagement we have, the better. So, so what I will do is we've got the list, so I'll distribute the list of the businesses in both the counties to both of you, and then and if you could add any to it, and because we do have, like for example, in Ceredigion, we do have lower representation on construction, and we'd like some more construction businesses from Ceredigion in. So, and defence is something we want to pick up as well. So your help there would be really appreciated.
Yeah, with regards to defence as well. Anyway, with regards, the defence growth deal as well, that's imminent coming out anyway. So yeah, diolch yn fawr am hwnna. Clive, what are that, Clive?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Chair. Di, can I just ask, could you send the list to all members of the board, not just to the two leaders? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Good. Diolch yn fawr am hwnna. Os na rhagor o gwestiynau, Di?
Diolch.
Na. Good job, diolch yn fawr ti, Di. O'n i mlaen wedyn ni. Diweddariad ar y fargen dwf. Natalie a Carwyn oedd yn mewn ar hwn. Fel rhan o'r adroddad yma hefyd, mi fydd Carwyn yn sôn am yr strategaeth ar y pipeline strategy. Felly, ti Natalie, ti sy'n kick-off gynta?
Na, fi cadeirydd.
Carwyn, oce.
Na i gychwyn o'n neith Natalie fel arfer orffen a neud y full job o'n ni. And yeah, good morning, everyone. Just a quick update on relation to where we are on the Mid-Wales growth deal. So as you know, steadily making progress now on the current projects. We've got a handful that have been subject to that stop-go review, and that's coming up on the agenda later today, where we'll go through them each in detail. But overall, I'd say we're in a pretty good position solid position in terms of that early development moving into delivery. And as I'll let Natalie cover the details, but fundamentally we had that sort of strong amber-green assurance review from an independent team just before Christmas. Myself and Duncan Hall, the Section 151 officer, presented to both governments and the Welsh City and Growth Deal Implementation Board just before Christmas. It's a very positive meeting. And I have been made aware that now the written procedure will follow to release the next tranche of funding to us as a deal. So I think we're in a pretty strong position, but the caveat to that is maintaining that momentum, maintaining pace and progress into delivery. So my message as the SRO to lots of projects is around, not resting on any laurels. Yes, we're in a good position. Government is looking to release funding now again for us this year, which is really positive. So we have got that positive cash flow coming in to the deal, and fundamentally, critically, as local authorities will have the money to pay the projects when they start claiming. But we also have got to sort of be very, very keep a very close eye on all the projects to ensure that they stick to plan, that they continue to keep pace in terms of moving that development into delivery, and money is actually spent and we start achieving results. In terms of the strategic pipeline, as the chair mentioned, just a brief update on that. I'm quite pleased to say we're up to about 30 individual inquiries now that's come in. As members will recall, part of our strategy is, review what we've got currently in terms of the current crop of projects, and some recommendations later in the agenda in regards to those, but also start publicly saying, we've got some money available in the growth deal and potentially other investment funds like the local growth fund or whatever else may come down the line in the future. So as a Mid-Wales region, we're trying to build that strategic pipeline. So we've been communicating it quite hard just before Christmas. And despite the Christmas period, we've had some quite good proposals, quite strong proposals come in across the region, ranging from like big strategic capital projects to some smaller ones. A lot of businesses, that's coming in with some interest as well. So what we're planning on doing is give that a sort of a further push now in the next sort of 2 weeks, because we didn't give a deadline or a timescale to it initially, just to sort of just start opening that process. We do feel that we do need to have a bit further, more of a push on it now, and trying to sort of, at least of all, lodge an expression of interest or an interest in what we're talking about. So that next month now, during the month of February, me and the team and with Savills as well supporting us, we'll be able to have those conversations with those sort of organisations and businesses, better understand what they're proposing. And we're looking at 3 categories of projects. We're looking at a category of project that will directly fit to the growth deal. So members will recall the workshop we had in Llandrindod, just sort of in the early December, late November, around where we are with the growth deal. So the parameters there is, if it's a growth deal project, they've got to deliver jobs and transformational growth in terms of that productivity piece in Mid Wales. They have got to be able to do a 5-case business model. We can't get away from that. And they've also got to leverage private sector investment, as well as also ensure that they can mobilise and deliver in the next 5 years, because that's when the growth deal is with us in terms of funding. So there's some pretty tight parameters for those, but there are some projects starting to look potentially possible and doable in that sort of space. There's a second category of projects we're looking at that are more private sector led, and again, how do we support those businesses to be successful? Because if we've got key anchor businesses across Powys and Ceredigion that want to invest in their business or invest in the local economy, what sort of financial instruments do we need to look at? And that may be growth deal, that may be other funding, but again, we want to look at this as trying to be as funding agnostic as possible at this point in time, so that we just identify what is out there, who wants to invest, and what do we as public sector need to do to mobilise that investment. And then there'll be a third category where there might be sort of slightly more longer term ideas, early stage ideas that don't quite fit anywhere yet, but they might have to be considered. We just log and identify those. So there's a lot going on at the moment. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of discussion. As I said, my ask of members is we will be putting on social media, on LinkedIn, and a press release again, pushing the pipeline. So if you are aware of organisations, please do push amongst your networks and colleagues. I'm conscious that Sue is on the call, Sue Balsam from the Economic Advisory Group. We'll have a meeting of the Economic Advisory Group in a couple of weeks' time now, I think on the 29th. So we'll have a conversation and ensure there's input from the private sector board as well into this process, and they advise and also push amongst their networks as well. With that, I'll pause there if there's any questions, Chair. If there's any questions, we'll bring Natalie in to do her update.
Diolch o'r ti, Carwyn. Methu gweld unrhyw law lan ar hyn o bryd. Felly, drostoed ti, Natalie, de, yna i gadw golwg ar y dwylo ymlaen. Okay?
Diolch, Cadeirydd. Bore da pawb, Chair, members. So the paper that you've received provides an update on the position of the Mid Wales Growth Deal portfolio. It's for information, and given the full agenda, I will focus on key portfolio level messages, trying to keep it brief with some forward-looking milestones. So overall, the portfolio continues to demonstrate steady progress and increasing maturity. Several projects have now transitioned from planning into early delivery, with 6.76 million of growth deal funding contractually committed across 5 early phase projects. So at portfolio level, this reflects a clear shift into implementation and delivery, while maintaining a strong pipeline of business cases behind it. From a strategic portfolio perspective, projects are broadly sitting across 3 different positions. So we've got the first group of projects is progressing into delivery with risks typical of early implementation and mobilisation phases. The second group remains active but constrained, most commonly by planning timelines, affordability pressures, or external dependencies, all of which are visible and managed through our standard portfolio controls. There's a small number that continue to face more fundamental constraints, where clarity is required to maintain delivery confidence at portfolio level, and we will come on to discuss those later in the agenda. The important point is that there are no emerging unknowns. Risks are understood, they're tracked and escalated appropriately. We have a clear forward pipeline and key milestones over the next 6 to 8 weeks, with a very busy but well-sequenced pipeline of business cases coming through. So later this month, we're expecting the full business case for Elan Valley. Next week, the first 3 bids for the Commercial Property Investment Fund will be going through the evaluation panel. The LoRaWAN grant management process is currently being mapped out and will go to the Digital Programme Board in early February. The business parks is at the contract signing stage with BT, marking a key delivery milestone. A broadband portfolio assurance review is scheduled for early February. The full business case for mobile coverage capacity is due in early February. And Green Futures and Cymru Tech outline business cases are both scheduled for February, alongside the hard to reach broadband full business case, which provides additional pipeline resilience. So taken together, this gives confidence that the portfolio has both delivery momentum and depth in the pipeline for the forward look. Project management capacity and capability remains an area of focus across the portfolio. The Portfolio Management Office continues to work closely with sponsors to strengthen reporting confidence, RAID discipline and forward planning, specifically looking at using the system that we have in place for developing those end-to-end plans, which we now have, but we want to continue to develop those and enhance them. In parallel, SME resource pressures, particularly around finance, legal and procurement, are being reviewed at senior level with lead authorities, but it is an issue that we're actively working on. As Carwyn mentioned, the recent Amber Green Portfolio Assurance Review reinforces confidence in the strategic alignment and governance of the portfolio. While delivery challenges do remain, they are being managed in a controlled and transparent way, with the strategic pipeline process now live to provide flexibility where required if we needed to pivot. This approach is aimed to maintain momentum, optimise the use of available funding, and keeps the portfolio focused on delivering the economic outcomes envisaged by the growth deal. So that concludes the update, but I'm happy to take any comments or questions in the attempt to try and keep it brief.
Na, war y teg, diolch yn fawr ti, Natalie. Ti siwr wedi gwneud job yn da iawn achos un oedd eto sim dwylo lan. Felly, Jake, cwrs gyda Jake.
No, a very good summary and nothing with the summary there, but I will say that I do find the format in the report really difficult to read itself. So your summary is excellent, but going in, I have to magnify the thing so big just to read the very small text. I don't know whether that can be looked at very simply. I don't want to cause anyone work, but I do find it difficult to follow when I'm reading it myself.
No, pwynt i'n teg, achos o'n i'n treol agor lan gyda fi hefyd, o'n i'n caru'n trwbl, Jake. Natalie, rhywbeth i ar gyfer y dyfodol?
Yeah. No, thank you very much, and we appreciate that feedback. So moving to this new system with the highlight report, we have had some teething issues with having the different level for the Growing Mid Wales board. So we've had to, well, Stacey's provided a workaround this time, but it's something that Clifford is actively working on so we can improve it going forwards. But thank you for the feedback.
Iawn, diolch o'r Jake. Iawn, ffili yn rhagor o ddwylo. Felly, y gofrestr risg, ti Natalie neu Carwyn sy'n mynd trwy hwnnw?
Gallai mynd trwy hwnnw. I've largely covered a lot of it in my summary to try and keep it as brief as possible. I think the largest issue we have at the moment is that SME resource, specifically around finance, procurement and legal. There are a lot of demands, and as I've just mentioned, there's a lot of business cases due to come in over the next 6 to 8 weeks. And getting that input is crucial to ensure that we've got the right governance and the right assurance around each business case. So that's the most fundamental issue that's affecting the portfolio at large, I would say. I think there are risks around procurement in terms of engagement, but across different projects, we're doing everything we can to bring suppliers in for early engagement and to try and engage people before tenders go out and make them aware that they are in the offing, essentially, to increase that submission and competitiveness of procurement. You might note that on the report it says there's a number of overdue risks. It's a timing issue due to Christmas. The system automatically defaults to the end of the year and due to when we pull the things out, but they have all been updated. I can give you assurance of that, and they are reviewed regularly. I think it's the timing because we didn't have a PDB between the two, but those are the key things. There's nothing insurmountable there. There's nothing unknown. We are managing the risks through our usual processes and escalating as required. But the key issue is the SME resource.
Ia, diolch yn fawr ti, Natalie. A falle mae'n bwysig i aelodau i swyddoli hefyd os nhw'n teimlo bod eisiau dod ymlaen â yr risg penodol i'r gofrester ni gallu neud i. Wnaethon ni gyda etholiadau Senedd ym mis Mai nawr, beth bynnag, felly mae hwnna'n enghraifft bod ni'n gallu rhoi mewnbwn hefyd. Felly, diolch yn fawr ti am hwnna, Natalie. Felly, unrhyw sylwadau neu cwestiynau jyst o ran y gofrester? Na. Diolch yn fawr ti, Natalie. Felly, ewn ni ymlaen at yr eitem nesaf nawr. Sef y strategaeth rheoli gwybodaeth. A credu mae Adam Davies yn mynd i tywys ni trwy hwn.
Yeah, bore da, diolch. So I'll take you through the strategy now. So the information strategy sets out how information and records are managed across the Mid Wales growth deal, ensuring some consistency, compliance and effective governance. This was approved by the Portfolio Delivery Board in November, and the strategy now has been presented today for information and for your endorsement. So the document defines clear roles for our SRO, portfolio management officers, staff and contractors. It establishes version control, naming conventions and storage and access arrangements, and sets out processes for managing data sharing and retention for some of our commercially sensitive information. It also ensures compliance with key legislation, including the UK GDPR, the Data Protection Act from 2018, and the Freedom of Information Act from 2000, and environmental regulations from 2004. So overall, the strategy we're presenting strengthens the governance, support, transparency, and audibility, and provides a consistent framework for managing information for the growth deal while it continues to move into delivery and mature over the next couple of months. For reference as well, it is a document that is going to be reviewed on a yearly basis, so we keep it up to date, and we'll be reviewing it again probably this time next year. So hopefully everyone has seen it, and this is just bringing it to your attention, and hopefully we're going to get your endorsement.
OK, diolch yn fawr ti, Adam. O ran yr argymellion, wel, yr un gyntaf yw bod ni'n nodi'r strategaeth. Wedyn 2.2, ni'n cefnogi'r egwyddorion a'r cynigion o nodi'r yn y strategaeth. A wedyn 2.3 yn cytuno bod y strategaeth yn cael ei adolygu'n flynyddol gan y swyddfa rheoli portffolio. Felly, cyn bod ni'n mynd i'r bleidlais, oes yna sylwadau neu cwestiynau i Adam ar hwn gyntaf, please. Na, felly, Clive, chi'n hapus bod ni'n derbyn 2.2 a 2.3 gyda gilydd? Yeah.
Yes, please, Chair.
Yeah, felly, pawb yn hapus bod ni'n nodi ar adroddiad beth bynnag. A wedyn ni, can I have a proposer for 2.2 or 2.3 on the recommendations? Clive yn cynnig, diolch yn fawr ti. A Glyn yn eilio, felly... So, gewn ni pleidlais ar y ddoi argymelliad, sef 2.2 a 2.3. Pawb yn hapus gyda hwnna? Hapus, Clive?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I can't see any abstentions or against.
OK, good. Diolch yn iawn ti, Adam. Os rhywbeth arall gyda ti ychwanegu neu ti'n hapus?
So, nothing from me. Appreciate everyone's time.
Good, diolch yn iawn ti. Felly, ewn ni ymlaen wedi at eitem 7, sef yr elfen cyllid. Fel wedi serach yn absenoldeb Duncan Hall, mi fydd Justin Davies yn tywys ni trwy'r papurau. Felly, bore da, Justin.
Bore da. So the report today is regarding the annual return for the Grow Mid Wales for 2024-25. Members will recall that this is an annual return which has been considered during the past few years. Members will also recall that the board meeting on the 17th of July, the outturn position for 24-25 was considered there in detail. So the annual return then is just like in effect a mini statement of accounts which we produced in the summer, and then has gone through work thereby swap then the internal audit provider with Powys, and ultimately audited then by Audit Wales. It's good to note that you'll see that the attachment 7.2, there's a short letter there from Audit Wales. There's no, they've got no issues or no concerns that they want to flag with the board, and they've got a unqualified audit opinion on the return. I'll just flag through a few points on the actual annual return itself. So I think it's item 7.2. So on page 1 is just where the financial information is. And I said a lot of this was included in the outturn report 17th of July, but I'll just flag a couple of the larger figures. So there's a figure there for creditors of just over 15 million, 15,345,000. So just to make sure everyone's clear on that, I said in the report in July, there was a list in there of the funds that the growth deal had received. So we'd received funds in 23-24 of 4 million. There'd been a top slice using that funding of just over 129,000. And then obviously in 24-25 we'd received a further just under 12 million, 11,857,000. And again, there was a top slice then of about 392,000. So that's the balance in effect of the growth deal funding we were holding at the end of March 2025. So that came to 15,335,000, and then there was additional 11,000 then of just small creditors, which were outstanding at the end of the year. So that's that creditor figure there of 15, it's shown on the return as a minus figure, minus 15,345,000. That's the in effect the largest majority there is the balance on the growth deal funding. And then there is a figure above, you'll see number 9, which is the total cash in investments. And in effect, by the time you take that creditor figure, adjust it for the debtors figure in row 800,000, and then we've got balances carried forward of 298,000 that will balance off there to the total cash in investments figure of 15,544,000. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of those largest figures there on the return. I'll just flag as well then on page 2 of the return is an annual governance statement, and there's a standard template there. So the return there was completed between officers from finance and swap. So that's a short, so it's 1-page template there. Page 4 is the actual Auditor General's audit certificate, and you'll see then it's a clean audit certificate, said the audit opinion unqualified. And then the remaining pages of the annual return, so pages 5 to 6 is the internal audit report. And again, there's sort of standard headings there which have been which have been reviewed. So there's no sort of issues highlighted there from internal audit from swap. And then the final pages then pages 7 to 12. Again, swap has completed this by reviewing the risk register, and in effect that the risk register has been used to complete that, and that's probably the longest section of the return. I think that's probably pretty much all I wanted to cover. Happy to take any questions.
Na, diolch fawr ti, Justin. Mae yna argymelliad i gael beth hwnna, felly cyn bod ni'n mynd i hwnnw, na i agor lan nawr. Felly, sylwadau neu cwestiynau i Justin, please. Papur eitha manwl, gweud y gwir, it is what it is. Felly, os yw pawb yn apus te, ewn ni ymlaen at yr argymelliad, mae hwnnw dod o ran 4.1. Argymelliad yw bod y bwrdd yn cymrydwyo y ffurflen flynyddol ar gyfer y flwyddyn ddaeth i ben ar yr 11 o mis Mawrth 2025. Felly os chi'n hapus gyda hynny, os chi'n cael cynnig cynnig, diolch fawr. Mae Cynghorydd Matthew Dodds yn eilio, diolch fawr iawn. Chi'n cael pleidlais aelodau, please. Hwna wedi gymrydwyo. Hapus, Clive?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Yeah, Good, diolch yn iawn i ti, Justin. Mae yna papurau eithriedig i gael, felly cyn bod ni'n pleidleisio i ni'n mynd i bwyllgor neu byd o. Unrhyw fater arall gynta de, please. Na, sni me wedi dod â David a Tai fel cadeirydd cyn awr beth bynnag. Felly mae yna cofnod o'r dyddiadau cyfarfodydd nesaf beth bynnag. Mi fydd pyrda yn effeithio ar ni. 23rd or 26th of March, when does Purda come in, Clive?
Chair, we having this discussion in Powers the other day, and we've taken it as the 25th, but there is a suggestion from Welsh Government it could be sooner, but there's also a suggestion from Welsh Government it could be later. So we're not quite sure, but it's around about that time.
Perhaps they'll cancel the elections, Clive, who knows?
Oh!
Catrin, ti'n gwybod?
Trydydd yr hugain, dwi'n meddwl, mae Ceredigion wedi nodi wedwyd wrtha i.
Yeah, I think from Ceredigon's point of view, 23rd, I think.
It's as good a date as any.
Okay, but obviously there won't be any decision making, but if we need to be updated on certain issues, I'm sure we can do that anyway. Felly, diolch yn iawn i chi gyd. Felly, cyn bod ni yn eithrio cyhoedd, allai gael cynigydd bod chi'n hapus bod ni'n mynd i bwyllgor ac eithrio cyhoedd ar yr eitemau eithriedig sydd. Catrin yn cynnig, Glyn yn eilio. Pleidlais bod ni'n mynd i bwyllgor, de. Ie, a hwnnw wedi cario. Felly, na i ffarwelio gyda'r cyhoedd, felly diolch yn iawn i chi am eich presenoldeb. Felly, newn ni sefyll nawr y Clive, nes bod yr cyhoedd wedi mynd allan cyn bod ni'n bwrw ymlaen gyda'r eitemau eithriedig.
Thank you, Leader. Karen will just confirm when we can proceed, if he doesn't mind.
Yeah, sure. I can confirm, yeah. Everyone here is...
Thank you, Carwyn.
Sure. Could we get a colleague from Ceredigion to stop the recording, please?
Mae'r recordiad dal yn mynd mlaen, so dwi ddim yn